Hi, I'm Rachel from Rachel Powell Design, and this video is to demonstrate how to make your wreath kit into a beautiful wreath. So this is for the feather and thistle wreath kit. Too many t-t-ts. All right, so in your kit box you will have a pre-mossed ring. You'll also have a bag of blue pine, and you will have some sugar pine. Now, the sugar pine is slightly sticky, so you will find when you're working this, you'll have a little bit of sticky residue on your hand, but it washes off very easily. So that's the main foliage for your wreath. You will also have a reel of wire, and you will have some stub wire. The only thing you need to provide yourself are some shears, snips, or good quality scissors. You then also have all the decoration pieces. So you will have seed pods. These are lotus seed pods. Thistles, some pussy willow, some eucalyptus. I've also put in a fragrant foliage, and you will have some pheasant feathers. Okay, so first thing we've got to do is construct our wreath base. So your moss base will be dry, so I would suggest you soak it in some water for 2-3 minutes just to help to moisten the moss, because this is what keeps everything fresh once the wreath has been made. So once your wreath has been soaked, your ring has been soaked, you need to take your reel wire, just pull the end out. It's so thin you probably can't see. And you just want to attach this to your moss base. So the easiest way to do that is just to wrap it round in the same place 3 or 4 times. Now with the reel wire, you want to pull it tightly every time you're attaching something with it. Okay, so I'm going to work in a clockwise direction. So what you want to do is create little bundles of foliage with the pine to build out your moss base. So if you see, I've got 2 there. If I put those onto there together, we create some nice width. So it's worth having a little fiddle in your pile, because you'll have all different shaped ones, and you can decide, but you basically want to end up with a little fan of pine. And you put that on so that the bushiness is facing anti-clockwise and your little ends are facing in a clockwise direction. And you lay that over where you've put your reel wire around, and then using your reel wire, you wrap it around the ends 2 or 3 times, and again pulling tightly. It's very robust, the pine, so you don't need to worry about it. If you don't pull the wire tightly, you're going to end up with this being too baggy and potentially falling out, particularly if it's windy. So can you see, that's our first little bundle. Then we go on and do the same again. Now you can either use just all the blue pine, or if you want to, you can intersperse some of the sugar pine as well. So I'm going to do 2 bundles of blue pine, and then every 3rd bundle I'm going to add in some sugar pine. So when you lay your next bundle on, you want to hide the ends of the first bundle, but don't go right on top like that, because you'll never get round and it will be too bushy. So you just want to cover it like that. And then again, you take your reel wire, you just stretch that around, and then you wrap that around the ends of your pine. So 2 or 3 times, pulling it tightly. Okay, so can you see we're starting to get a wreath base. What you can find as well with the pine is once you've got it all on, you can give it a little push and a poke to get it into the right position. All right, so I'm going on to my 3rd bundle now. So a couple of bits of the blue pine, and this time I'm going to add in a sprig of sugar pine. So again, we lay it on, covering the wired ends of the last bundle, just like that. Okay, so that's number 3, and 2 or 3 wraps around, and we're done. Okie dokes. And then again, see with the sugar pine, if you find it sticking out too much, you can just pull it a little bit further down. That's the beauty of the wire. You can move things even once they're attached. All right, let's go on to bundle number 4. So this one for me is just going to be the blue pine, but you can, as I say, choose to do this however you like. So 3 of those. And then I'm going to do another blue pine. So I'm just going to try and get these on quite quickly. You obviously work at your own pace, and you can just pause the video or go back if you need to see anything again. So just remembering, always pulling that wire nice and tight. You're not going to damage the pine. The pine is very robust. If you ever find as well you've got some bits down here that you maybe don't want, just snip those off. You can always use those to tuck in later. And also you may find you don't even use all the pine up. So don't worry if you have some pine left. So this one's going to have sugar pine as well as blue pine. And then again, can you see that I've just got a long piece from the sugar pine? So I'm just going to snip that away. And again, just give the sugar pine a little poke. All right, let's carry on round. So yeah, you should have plenty of pine in your bag, in your pack, so more than you'll need. Okay, that one's sticking out a bit much. As you lay them on, it's always worth just having a little look to see what shape you're creating, just to make sure you're happy with it. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, it's starting to form a lovely wreath shape now. And we're working on a 12-inch base here, but then as you add the pine, obviously it all feels a lot bigger. And if you want a very wide wreath, then all you have to do is just fan these out a little bit more. It's all dependent on the size of your door really, and how dramatic you want to be. I always tend to not go too wide with the pine, because by the time you've got all the decorations on, there's so much going on, you just don't need it to be too big. And the last thing you want is to be bashing yourself on your wreath every time you come in and out of your front door or guests arrive. Okie dokes, so this time we're having some sugar pine in with that one. Got a bit of netting on there. Right, so again, just laying it over the end bits of the last one, wrapping it 3 times, pulling it tightly. And what I tend to do is get all the pine on, and then I go around and I just have a little play around with the pine just to make sure I've got it all in the right position. Okay, so that's where I'm going to use one of my little spares that I cut off, just to pad that one out a little bit. Okay, so I am almost round mine now. Not too much further to go. Funny one. Here, we'll take that one, but we'll cut those lower sprigs off because they're just going to get in the way. That's a lovely, lovely full bundle. Right. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then this one is going to be the sugar pine. And this, I think, may be my last bundle. Let's just lay it on and have a look. Oh no, I'm going to do 2 more. Okay, so again, I've got the pine and I've got the sugar pine. Just wrap that around. Again, I'm going to trim off the ends of the sugar pine. Okay, and then can you see I'm now almost all the way round. There's just a little gap at the bottom here. So when we get to that final point, what we want to do is make up our bundle, make a nice full one, and you want to lift up the foliage from your first bundle and tuck that underneath, and then wire it. And it gets a little bit tricky at this stage because there's a lot of pine here and you don't want to be wiring pine from the other bundles you've already attached. And then we'll just wrap that around again. Okay, and we'll leave the wire attached for now. All right, the next thing you want to do, once you've attached all your pine, that's a bit I've attached there, is just hold it up and have a look at it and just check that it feels nice and even. Sometimes it's a benefit to get somebody else to hold it and you can look from a little bit of a distance, but you just want to be looking to see how it's going to look on your door basically. And if you've got any gaps, so I've got a couple of funny bits here, you can just fill those with a bit of extra pine. So I'm going to get some little bits like this, and I'm just going to, actually I'm going to do a bit like that. Just tuck that on that outer edge, and all you do is you bring your wire, move it around to the point where you need to be. It's a little bit fiddly. Again, trying not to trap any of the pine from the other bundles. There we go. And we'll just attach that. Now don't forget, we've got lots of other trims to go on as well. So if it's looking slightly uneven, don't panic. I find at the workshops at this stage, people often are a little bit worried that it's not looking too even, but by the time we've finished, it will be stunning and really full. And like I say, you can fiddle with the pine as well, just to rearrange it. All right, so once you're happy with the shape and you feel like you've filled all the gaps, you then want to have a look and decide where you want the top of your wreath to be. Now you'll often find that it will create a natural shape itself, so it's quite easy for you to see where the top is. You want a nice round. If you've got particular bushiness, that could go at the bottom. So I am going to say, where's the top of mine? I'm going to have, the top of mine up there. So I'm going to put a tiny bit more pine in there because I've got a little bit of flatness, but that's going to be the top of my wreath. And then as you're working to decorate your wreath, you want to always keep the top at the top because it just makes it easier for putting the decorations on. Oh dear, that bit of packaging. Right. So let's get this extra, where's my wire? Wire's all the way around there. So let's stretch my wire over, take it under that foliage, and let's just wire that on like that. Okie dokes. Easy peasy. All right, so that's, when I've done this last bit, is your finished wreath base. Okay, so there we go. That is your wreath base finished and ready to be decorated.